Yesterday, Representative James Talerico of Texas, described as a rising star Democrat, spent a good 10 minutes here on the Will Cain Show in a conversation that I largely thought was respectful, if not spirited. I like having those conversations and hearing from different points of view, and I recognize at times that much of this audience doesn't want to hear from someone they consider to be dishonest. But I like to give everyone a chance for honest debate. I thought that's what we had with Representative Talerico. I was surprised then to all of a sudden see headlines after our show yesterday like this from the Daily Beast. Fox News host rages at Democrat after abruptly ending interview. Mediaite, Texas Democrat and Fox's Will Cain trade blows online after producer dumps out of fiery 10-minute interview. That's interesting. I don't remember dumping out of the interview. I don't remember cutting off Representative Talerico. In fact, if I remember correctly, this is how that conversation ended. I also appreciate you being on the show. You're welcome to be here in Texas, sitting across the table for me. Hopefully soon when you return to take the votes, we would love to see you.
I haven't had a good breakfast taco. I haven't had a good breakfast taco in weeks, so I'm ready to come back home.
Yeah, it's because you're in Illinois. Okay, thank you, Representative.
Agreed.
Okay.
Thank you.
So where did this come from? Why would this be reported like that at Mediaite, the Daily Beast, or all across social media? Well, being mad at the media is like being mad at a pig for being a dirty animal. It's just who they are. But a politician, a man of the cloth, someone who went to seminary and holds themselves out as the goodwill future of the Democrat Party, well, you can expect more, and I expected more. From Representative James Talerico, who went to Twitter and posted this after our interview. I just went on Fox News to tell the truth about the redistricting power grab in Texas. I asked a simple question. If Republican policies are so popular, why do they need to redraw these maps? Why not run on their policies? He refused to answer and cut the interview early. Well, that's simply not true. That's a lie. I answered the question about the popularity of Republican policies. I pointed out to the representative, the Republicans maintain a majority of every branch of government in both Texas and the United States as a reflection of the popularity of their policies. I pointed out that Democrats maintain historic lows in approval ratings to illustrate the unpopularity of their policies. But Representative Talerico lied, not just about the end of our interview, he lied repetitively, by my count about 4 times in 10 minutes. He lied as easily as he breathes. Once every 2 minutes if we do the math. And this is why it's important. Because this politician, again, this self-described man of the cloth, is being propped up as a politician of goodwill. He's being laundered through the formats of credibility. This is him on Joe Rogan.
Everyone's saying, no, Epstein killed himself. No, nothing to see here. And it's like, okay, well, that's why people are cynical. People are cynical because you had all this hope for change, and then you realize, like, oh, the same people that are pulling the strings are still pulling the strings. It doesn't have to be this way.
That is the key step.
Right.
So
that's because you need to run for president. It's 'cause you
yeah.
We need someone who's actually a good person.
A good person is not defined by a youth pastor voice and a middle school teacher demeanor. A good person is defined, in my book, in part by their ability to tell the truth. And the way our interview ended was only one of the lies told by Talerico. In our conversation, he seems to think he slam dunked on me about Republicans, all of them, voting against a, quote, gerrymandering law.
Democrats had a majority in Congress. They voted to ban gerrymandering in every state, red states and blue states. Do you know how many Republican members of Congress joined them in that effort?
Which one? I'm sorry. Which state did you just refer to?
I'm asking, do you know how many Republicans joined Democrats in the U.S. Congress to ban gerrymandering? All the Democrats voted for it. 0 Republicans voted for it.
That's vague. What is a gerrymandering law? What was the gerrymandering law? Now, you can hold me accountable for not knowing in the moment, but what Talerico is referring to there is HB 1, a bill attempted to be passed in 2021 that, yes, attempted to ban gerrymandering, and yes, Republicans voted against. But what Talerico hid from you, what he lied, is that was only one part of the For the People Act. It also created automatic and same-day voter registration. It expanded early and mail-in voting. No Republican supports mass mail-in voting. It had online voter registration. It expanded voting rights to felons. It restricted voter polls, purges, and independent redistricting commissions. It also asked for a 10-year tax return on all presidential and vice presidential candidates. But that wasn't said to you when he vaguely referred to a gerrymandering law to try to suggest that Republicans are for gerrymandering. And then Talerico suggested that Massachusetts' completely gerrymandered map, well, it was bipartisan and fair and signed by a Republican governor.
You mentioned Massachusetts.
Right.
Do you know the party of the governor that signed that map into law? He was a Republican. It was a Republican governor that signed that map into law. So I just want to be clear with our facts, and I don't want to muddy the waters.
But Talerico was not clear with his facts, and he did muddy the waters. And again, you can hold me accountable for not knowing this in the moment, but I do know it now, that Massachusetts in 2020, when it drew its map, did have Charlie Baker, a Republican, as governor. But Democrats also had a supermajority, as they have often in that state, a veto-proof supermajority that drew that map. Charlie Baker could do nothing in Massachusetts, but that was hidden as well. Another lie by Talerico. And if that wasn't enough, what Talerico did on social media was deceptively edit our 10-minute conversation into about 70 seconds of what he thinks are slam dunks, what I think are clearly lies, with no response from me. And makes it look like we said goodbye, it's short on time, we have to go, we have to run. I gave Talerico 2 more minutes after telling him we're tight against time. He used that time like Jill Biden to talk about breakfast tacos if that makes him a Texan. Where I come from, being a Texan is someone with a steel spine and something between their knees, between their legs. That something gives you the integrity to tell the truth. Now, I don't know what the voters of Round Rock, Texas think about what it means to be a Texan, but if Talerico's any evidence, it means being a fraud. A fake man of the cloth, someone who's as comfortable lying as he is breathing, or as comfortable lying as he is running to Illinois. I will say one thing. Mark Cuban is right when he posted on X. James Talerico is going to go as far in politics as he wants to go. He is good. He is a good politician, is defined by his ability to lie. And I have no doubt that will make him a star, Cuban, as a Democrat. But what I also think it makes him is an absolute fraudulent man of the cloth. An absolute fraudulent man of God, somebody without integrity, somebody without honor, and somebody who has the inability to tell the truth, who lies the entire time he runs to Illinois. Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.